Hi everyone, welcome back to Harp and Guitar, People and Music. So today, for a little bit of our blues history, I thought we'd move a little bit out of the Mississippi Delta and kind of spread ourselves outward a little bit. I think when last we talked, we had spoken a little bit about the Mississippi Delta blues, a little bit about how it moved and migrated outward and found its way into Texas, and then of course into Georgia, Alabama. And I wanted to talk about some of that migration of the music. And this really started to happen a lot through the mid to late 20s when sheet music, printed sheet music, was much more widely available and was being spread around through traveling salesmen and that sort of thing. And also, now records were starting to be produced and being made in such quantities that they were available to a greater and greater portion of the population, including some of the poorer southern people who could actually, without electricity, just buy a wind-up gramophone and buy a couple of record discs and just play them over and over and over again. So part of this migration of the music through sheet music and also through some of these early recordings spread outward from what is widely accepted to be the birth of the blues, the Mississippi Delta, and eventually evolved into what we now know as Chicago blues or modern blues. But even within this immediate area of the Delta, as you move further outward, even before you get into New Orleans, Louisiana, and up into Missouri, you get into the Mississippi Hill Country, and that's where you get a slightly different style of playing. More often than not, they still played with a slide, sliding it up and down the strings, much like many of the Mississippi Delta players played, but they often played without a slide at all. And one of the differences really with the hill country is that it is a lot more varied in its subject matter, and also requires a lot more of the finger picking style as opposed to just single string plucking and running the slide up and down the strings. So it was a little bit of a difference of style in playing, and then, like I said, with the subject matter as well. The subject matter involved a lot more songs that were slightly more personal, but not in the sense of hardships. More just work-related songs and social life songs, but not necessarily how your boss man or your captain would be cruel or mean to you. It was more so about how tough it was to work the fields, or how tough it was to maintain the love of a good woman. Now, a few good examples of the hill country style of blues would be some modern guys like R.L. Burnside, who's been playing since the 50s and has been recorded since the 50s. But he's very deeply rooted in a much older hilltop blues style, hill country blues style, that goes back to, as we've been talking about here today, the mid-20s into the late 20s. Now, an even further migration outward from not only the Mississippi blues, there's a train going by, but you know what? It adds to the feeling, so I'm going to let it go. So another thing was that it moved out of the state of Mississippi and out of the hill country and spread into what's known as the Piedmont style. And you hear many examples of this being played by fellows such as Mississippi John Hurt. And this style of music was played not only in Mississippi, but in Kentucky and Alabama and Georgia. And this again was a very sophisticated way of playing the guitar, because it almost never employed a slide at all. And it was almost completely made up of complicated chord structures and lots of finger picking, often with a pick worn on the thumb, the index finger, and the third finger, much like banjo players. And like I said, very complicated chord structures and moving up and down the fretboard. with a lot more notes being played than moving the slide up and down. It also gave for a little bit of a different sort of overall feeling. Not only was the tempo maybe more danceable, but just the overall beat of the music and the feeling of the music was a little bit more lively and upbeat, almost akin to ragtime music. And it wasn't so melancholy sounding as much of the low country or the Delta blues sound was. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for today. So I want to thank everyone for popping by here, Harp and Guitar, People and Music. And just kindly encourage you to please like and share the video and let us know what you think down in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We'll talk to everyone again real soon. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.